What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Fantasy Football Game Show brought to you by Front Yard Fantasy here on Better Sports Network. I'm your host, Simon, joined as always by my co-hosts, John Luke Garofalo and Joey Wright. And joining us today is our great friend, Alfredo Brown. For those of you that do not know Alfredo, you can find him on Twitter at the Pretend GM. He's the video content lead over at FootballGuys and host of the Pretend GM Fantasy Football Show. Alfredo, thank you so much for taking the time to come on and hang out with us today.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for inviting. You are actually, this is the first thing that I have recorded. First time I've been back on a microphone since being back in the United States of America. Wow. Yeah, you're my first now. Like, you're my first this week, not ever. So
Alfredo, let me just tell you, whenever Coop came back from his 10 days in Europe while we were doing the morning show, he showed up and he was a different man. He was pompous. He looked like he hadn't pooped in a dirty toilet in 10 days.
Wait, I'm sorry. Where does the pooping in a dirty toilet?
None of us thought that's where that's at.
I'm just saying, it changes a man. 10 days abroad.
You've already changed me just like a minute into the show. So thank you.
Well, welcome back, Alfredo. We're glad to have you here, and we got some people in the chat excited for today's show. Craig in here letting us know, to the best I can tell, today is Albert's 6th appearance on an FYF show. So, Albert, congratulations.
Great job, Albert.
Appearance here on
so proud of you.
Game Show. We got Victor in the chat saying happy Thursday, bro. Chachos. What's up, Victor?
What up, Victor?
And Victor wants to know, is Diop being held hostage in New England? Joey, what's going on? Is Billy B not letting him out?
Stockholm
I'm not allowed to talk about it.
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize you weren't allowed to bring that up yet. That's my bad. Also, Craig down in here saying, damn it, getting my names confused in between meetings. There's a lot of history going on.
At a meeting with a bunch of Alberts, I guess.
Yeah.
We got Jacob in here saying, I'm just here for Joey's feet. I may have promised Joey's feet in a tweet. So
feet tweet, nice.
I've shown a lot more on the show, so I won't mind.
Sorry, Twitch. Oh, God. That was so much worse than I thought.
Listen, there's different flavors for different people. Oh, but let's check out the New Balance I have on today. Wait, can we see them? Here, I'll just take this.
We can see the bottom.
Look at that.
Oh, wow.
Those are fresh.
So we got the foot fetish crowd and the New Balance Kicks crowd. That was a
574 crew. Let's go.
Also, Craig in here
barefoot.
Correcting it. It's Alfredo's 6th appearance on an FYF show. We got Dustin in the chat with the hashtag Team Joey. What's up, Dustin? Welcome in, my friend.
What up, Dustin?
And Jay letting us know that Alfredo, he says this every time, and that's because it's true every time. A great hugger as well.
Yeah, I practice them. That's what I do throughout the whole off season. When I'm not recording, I'm just practicing hugs.
What do you practice with?
Oh, just anyone I see on the street.
Okay.
Anybody. I sit out in the driveway waiting for the mailman all day.
Yeah. He's actually no longer allowed in Sacramento. He's just permanently banned from that city. He practiced hugging a little bit too much on that Wednesday in Sacramento. We got Grim fan in the chat. What's up, Grim? With a question for us before we get into our tiers for today. Grim wants to know what our reaction is to the Jets signing the former Packer safety Adrian Amos. I know Grim has been on the Jets, are pushing for a title, thinks they're going to win the Super Bowl this year. Alfredo, what do you think about this move and maybe more the moves the Jets have been making as a whole over this offseason?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had more to say on the Adrian Amos signing. I mean, I know he used to be good, but ever since I started focusing more on the offensive side of the ball, I have not focused on that too much. But overall, the Jets, I mean, everything that they're doing shows that they're trying to go all in on winning a championship ASAP, right? Like, they don't know if they have guarantees for the next year or year after that. So yeah, I mean, they're going in for everything they can this season. I just still have a lot of apprehension about Aaron Rodgers going to a whole new team. The Breece Hall coming off the ACL, which I'm sure he'll be healthy, but there's a lot of moving pieces with this whole team. So I'm still a little bit worried about them.
Joey, do you share the same trepidation about Aaron Rodgers in this Jets offense?
Yes and no. I mean, one of our good friends, Dave Kluge, likes to bring up about Aaron Rodgers all the time is that he excels when he has people that he knows around him. You look at how he's utilized his wide receivers, and he usually doesn't click with them until around the 3rd season. So bringing more people in that Aaron Rodgers has a relationship with makes him more comfortable, can make him more successful. So I think it's like more of like an overall view of the addition of Adrian Amos, but that's just kind of how I see it.
How many frustrating games until Aaron Rodgers demands Adrian Amos plays wide receiver just so he has someone he knows on the offensive side of the ball?
6.
Start demanding it happening out there.
I'll take the under on 6.
Under on 6. The other happy 4. Jacob, and you're saying,
wait, are we including preseason? Because I was.
No, not including.
No.
Oh, 2.
What? Why would we include?
Why would you include preseason?
You don't think he's going to wind through preseason games? Come on, guys.
Oh, I don't think he's going to play a single second in a preseason game.
Probably not. He'll still whine, though. He'll be on the sideline.
You're right. We got Albert in here saying hello, everyone. What's up, Albert?
Hello,
There's
Albert.
Congrats on your
I'm on the
6th show. Yeah.
Congratulations.
I missed every single one of them. Also, Scabbers in here saying Friday came early today, I guess, with a little bit of feet love on the show. Happy Friday to you. And we got Diggs in the chat. What's up, Diggs? Welcome,
What up,
my friend.
What's
Guys,
up,
well, we brought Alfredo on here today to help us make a Dynasty wide receivers tier list. Before we get into that, though, a couple reminders. First and foremost, if you're not already following Alfredo, fix that.
Oh my God.
You can find him on Twitter at the Pretend GM. It's right there on the screen below his wildly handsome face. Or you can find it in the link below this video if you're watching on the Better Sports Network YouTube or the Front Yard Fantasy YouTube.
Or the sky above this video.
Or the sky above this video. Look up now. There's a blimp.
Alfredo Brown.
It's Alfredo. Alfredo's picture fades. It wasn't actually him. This was a pre-recorded video that we just played along with the entire time.
If they can do it for Tupac, they'll do it.
They'll do it for me.
We can do it for Alfredo. Jay, and you're saying the pretend Albert. Yeah, we got the pretend Albert on the air today. The real Alfredo's flying through the sky. Guys, you ready to get into this Dynasty wide receivers tier list?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. How this is going to work is we're going to take turns nominating players that we would like to put on this tier list. You can choose a good player, a bad player, a medium player, or any other descriptor that you would choose to describe them with. You're going to tell us what tier you would put them in, why you'd put them in that tier, and then the other 3 people will do the same. We will average those numbers, and whatever tier it comes out to, the player will go in that tier. If there is a tie, if it ends up between 2 tiers exactly on the 0.5, it will rule in favor of the guest. So, Alfredo, if there are any perfect ties, it's going to go the direction that you voted in.
Not the chat?
Or the chat, if we can get enough votes in there. But it's hard with the chat because this is tiers, right? So it's not necessarily a clear, direct
True.
vote.
No, you're right. I'm thinking brackets.
Yeah, brackets, the chat always decides right there.
You're right.
All right, well, Alfredo, you've got first pick. You can talk about any wide receiver that you would like to here. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just going to be easiest to start from the top and work our way down to have some clarity on it. So I'm going to throw a curveball at you. Let's go with Justin Jefferson here in the top tier.
Whoa.
Tier 1? Yeah, I don't think you're going to get
Alfredo.
any arguments from either. I almost just moved him up there right away. Joey, do you agree with Alfredo here? Is Justin Jefferson tier 1?
Absolutely. There are 2 guys I would throw in tier 1, and Justin Jefferson was one of the 2.
Yeah, can we just get that out of the way?
Yeah, you know, we don't even need to use your turn on that. There's not much conversation that needs to happen.
Turns out, these guys are good.
Justin Jefferson and Christian Kirk. Yep, absolutely.
Justin Jefferson and Christian Kirk. We got them in the top tier. Everybody's in agreement. We can move on. Is everybody here cool with Jamar Chase in tier 1 as well?
If that's who I was up next, it's who I was going to nominate.
To go into tier 1?
Yeah, 100%.
All right. I think these 2 are the only consensus tier 1. I think some of us may have some other players in tier 1, but Joey's already made it clear he does not. So, Alfredo, now that we've got these out of the way, you nominate a player. Who do you want to talk about next?
All right, so let's go a different direction here. For tier number 2, I'm going to go with CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. I think he's just got so many things going in his advantage. Well, for Dynasty, he's young. He's 24 years old. He's absolutely shown that he's got the talent. He's in a system that is essentially kind of being built around him. Like, this isn't Zeke's team anymore unless he comes back. And even if he does, it's really not his. He's got that great relationship with Dak Prescott. It just kind of seems like even when they bring in players like Brandon Cooks, it's all to be a supporting cast member for CeeDee Lamb. So I like having a good, accurate quarterback with a young, extremely talented wide receiver. So CeeDee Lamb for me goes in tier 2.
Tier 2, just behind Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. Joey, are you agreeing with Alfredo here? Is CeeDee Lamb up in tier 1 with these other guys, or do you have him a little bit lower?
No, it's tier 2 for me. I became Canadian for some reason. I joined the Tim Hortons division of the old Scott Fishbowl there.
That's pretty good.
Wow,
that's really natural.
That I really thought you were going to butcher it.
No, sorry. I watched a lot of Strange Brew as a kid, I guess. No, CeeDee Lamb would be in tier 2 for me. I'm not super high on Dak this year. He's a player I'm actually really out on. Just production-wise. But volume-wise, CeeDee Lamb, he's definitely going to get the targets and everything this season and going forth. He's still young. Love the talent. So, yeah, CeeDee Lamb, tier 2 for me.
We got Sully in the chat. Resident Canadian says, nice, Joey. Real nice.
I was about to ask. Like, we need some Canadians in the chat to make a ruling here. I don't think we can.
I can't tell if that's like nice, Joey, real nice, or like
nice.
Oh yeah, like you,
real nice.
You.
Well, I mean, if he's Canadian, Canadians tend to be very nice, so I got to assume that's a compliment.
This is earnest, yeah.
You're
nice,
right,
Joey. Real nice.
Pretty good, Joey. You really made a mockery of us.
I did live in Montana for 3 years, so I was kind of close to Canada.
That's Canada adjacent.
Yeah, so it's close. I would filter into Canada every now and then when I go to Glacier National Park. So,
Shout out Canada.
Shout out Canada. One time I caught a fish there illegally. Don't tell the park rangers. We were on Lake Erie, took the boat across where we weren't supposed to go and accidentally hooked a fish, but we were not about to send back the one walleye that we caught that day. My grandfather demanded that we were holding on to that Canadian fish, and we just booked it back to shore.
Classic Americans.
Sometimes got the Mounties knocking on his door.
Uh-oh. Ooh, don't get me excited. All right, JL. We've got 2 tier 2s for CeeDee Lamb and a little bit of Mountie excitement. Where are you putting CeeDee Lamb, and where do you stand on the sexual attractiveness of the Canadian Mounties?
Oh, top of the spectrum, really, is where I can put that. Apparently, they're real hardcore, too. You don't want to mess with those guys. CeeDee Lamb.
Sir.
I don't have much to add here. He's a talented player, and I think the thing that really gives him steady value in Dynasty specifically is his age, which Alfredo mentioned, not only 24 years old, but a young 24. And on top of that, his situation really hasn't changed too much. He still has Dak, he still has his head coach, and he's still the main guy on that offense. So I have no concerns really for CeeDee Lamb this year.
I feel like I fully agree with what you guys are saying, and I'm shocked by kind of how quietly he maintained this value this season. It feels like people should be more excited after what happened this past year. There was some Cowboys disappointment, but there wasn't CeeDee Lamb disappointment. He was a wide receiver 1. He had I think over 100 receptions last season. He was
8.7 target share.
Exactly. Dude did everything that we've said we want him to do. He's very solidly tier 2. There's just an it factor, an upside factor, and slight age factor that Jefferson and Chase have going their way to keep them separated.
Maria in the chat said, if you see me in the background, no, you didn't.
Now we got to go back. Well, I'm going to watch it.
I saw. I seen it.
And so that was another woman in JL's background. How dare he? What can I say?
New kitchen.
New kitchen. Who dis?
New kitchen. Who dis?
It'd be great. It's like, what are you doing in my kitchen? Are you on camera right now?
Get out.
Joe his internet doesn't work, so he just starts showing up at random houses in the neighborhood to knock on the door and stream from their kitchens.
I just thought this was a residence inn, and it's just really residential. I don't know.
Public Wi-Fi. That's why I rifle through your notebook to get your password.
We got Jay down here saying there's always Cowboys disappointment coming from a completely unbiased Giants fan. Joey, we've got CeeDee Lamb up there in tier 2 now, but you've got free reign of the board. Which player are we going to be talking about next?
I'm going to go a little down. I'm still going to be in tier 2, but I was just kind of looking at my tier 2 guys, and I'm like, okay, who do I feel the safest with? And I'm kind of surprised to say this. It's Amon-Ra St. Brown from the Detroit Lions. I was kind of negative on him last year. I just wasn't buying it. I'm completely buying it now. I love the Lions offense. I believe he had a 32% per target share running the ball. So if he's on the field, 33% of the time he's catching the ball. And he's on the field a lot. Everything I see, and Jameson Williams is going to miss the first 6 weeks. I feel really safe with Amon-Ra St. Brown. If I've got like a middle of the round pick coming into the second round, he's someone I really like to grab in a dynasty league, and he's usually there. So yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown tier 2 for me.
Tier 2. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jay, are you agreeing with Joey here? Oh,
he's speechless. My take just blew him away. I feel good about that, I guess.
Well, if I wasn't muted, you would have heard me say I completely agree with Joey. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I mean, what more does he have to do to prove it to us? He's done fantastic his first 2 seasons in the league, and he's on an offense which I think is trending upwards. We're seeing the sports books put some faith in the Lions. They obviously have belief that they're going to make a postseason run here. And Amon-Ra St. Brown is still that main guy there, even with Chase Claypool, Darnell Mooney, all those other options that are there now. Amon-Ra St. Brown has just done it repeatedly, time and time again. So I'm on with him. Let's go.
Wrong competition. Those are the Bears wide receivers. But everything else you said, I fully agree with. I'm with you, dude. Amon-Ra St. Brown is locked and loaded. It doesn't matter. I was anti-Amon-Ra St. Brown last year, and it wasn't due to the lack of the ability, like Joey said. It was just I didn't buy it. I thought this was another gift of opportunity that we saw a player succeed in, but this year he proved a little bit more. I'm not as nervous about Jameson Williams coming back into this offense, and having 6 weeks without him definitely helps cement his role going into this season. So if you would have asked me last year, it probably would have been significantly lower than consensus, but I'm in this year. It's going to be tier 2 for me as well. Alfredo, we got 3 tier 2s. Are you going to tell us to shut up, or are you agreeing with us?
Well, I'm not going to tell you to shut up. I was really, really close to putting him tier 3. But I think the thing that is keeping him there is just simply what his skill set lends to and what his role is on a team. He is always going to be that high target, high volume guy, no matter what's going on in that team. So even if the Lions lose Jared Goff, even if they bring back other players, they draft a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs, all these different players, like, the role is always there for Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I think it's just kind of, how do you want to value it? Do you put players in higher tiers because they have a higher ceiling, or because they're going to give you consistent high floor every single season? And if that's the case, then yeah, I'm comfortable with St. Brown being in tier 2.
I love that point you just brought up, Alfredo, because I think that nuance gets lost in the conversation a lot, right? Like, you can't just look at this as straight up tiers list. You got to look at it based off your strategy as well.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, what I was going to say is, like, so much. Remember, like last year, everyone was saying, "Oh, well, Amon-Ra's not going to be getting as many targets because you got DeAndre Swift coming back and TJ Hawkinson," and it's like, well, if he was able to continue to out target those players, are you really that worried about Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta? I mean, they're talented players in their own right, but those were established NFL veterans that had shown really good ability to compete, and Amon-Ra was still out targeting these guys and leading the whole offense. So really the only kind of wrench that can get thrown in there is if Jared Goff has like a career ending injury, which we obviously don't wish for, but
or even Amon-Ra forgets how to play football.
That's only 2 options.
Yeah.
Or spider infestation.
Awesome.
All 3 very
options.
possible.
I stand very corrected now.
So Amon-Ra St. Brown was the 4th player that we mentioned today. Is he anyone's wide receiver 4 in Dynasty? He's not for me. He's the one I kind of feel safest with in tier 2.
Fingers fall off. Fingers fall off would be another one that could prevent that from happening. Sorry to take us back to that. But he is not my wide receiver 4. He's solidly a top 10 wide receiver for me. But that's about as high as I'm confident putting him. But I am very confident putting him that high. You know what I mean? Like, there is a high confidence in saying he'll be a top 10 wide receiver, but not much confidence in saying beyond that. Right. We got Sully down here saying I was so wrong about Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm with you. And Scott Fish saying, Joey, call me in 10 minutes.
Cool. 10 minutes from now, or 10 minutes from when he sent that?
10 minutes from when he sent that, which I have no idea
9 minutes ago.
That. Oh. Okay, Joey, you've got 1 minute.
Wait. Should I call him?
In 1 minute, if you follow directions.
He did text me a follow-up.
We got Jake in here. What's up, Jake? Said, I had a dream last night that I was a guest on this show, but my internet sucked. So I had to walk across the street to record in JL's house.
You can record in my house anytime you want, Jake.
Also, you've lived across the street from jail this whole time, and you've never once walked across the street. What? Joe, you got to go home and record in your own kitchen.
Right now?
I didn't realize Wisconsin and Maryland were bordering states. It's all new information to me.
Yeah. We built a tunnel.
The chat's got us. They say, or the NFL disbanding. Jason, aliens could also happen. Bob Harris in here saying, I was once abducted by aliens, so it really could happen, and they have yet to return me. Bob, I hope they return you before Canton. I'm hoping to see you out there.
Bob Harris is the Las Vegas alien.
You're going to return him with hair.
Oh, that would freak me the hell out.
What the hell happened
Also,
to you?
Mrs. Canvas said 1 more attempt to reveal Scott's number. Yeah, we've gotten dangerously close to doxing Scott Fish on the show multiple times.
Remember his voicemail almost doxed him?
100%. Yeah, you called him and it started reading his number out loud on speakerphone into the microphone. But you saved it. John Luke, you've got the choice now. You're in charge. You're the daddy. You get to pick what we all have to talk about.
Maria and I rewatched the Jimmy Neutron movie last night. It absolutely holds up.
Does it?
Yeah, it absolutely holds up.
It's in America. Oh. Don't they sing that in that movie?
Oh, of course they do. They're in the best montage ever created. All right.
Ever?
I'm gonna bring up a player who I believe.
I thought that was related to the player you were gonna bring up.
Absolutely not. It was just a song I was singing in my head. I'm gonna bring up a player I believe belongs in tier 2. But I've seen plenty of people disrespect him because of his age, because of the system. Maybe not so much after this past season, but I'm talking about AJ Brown. I think he's a tier 2 wide receiver in Dynasty. He really represents the end of tier 2 for me, mainly because of his age. He's 26 years old, but he's on an offense which I think will continue to get better, continue to improve, and was fantastic last year. Not much is really changing for AJ Brown, so I am very bullish on him in Dynasty. I think we'll have a solid 3 to 5 years of peak performance, barring any sort of injury.
I agree with you that sometimes I see him undervalued, but I think maybe even more so. AJ Brown is a player I've also gotten way higher on this past season. You could say with Amon-Ra St. Brown that maybe I was a little bit hesitant about how high AJ Brown's upside was in an offense that I viewed as very run heavy or run first, but I was proven entirely wrong. He was the wide receiver 4 last season in PPR leagues. That's with Davante Smith in there, and that's with Jalen Hurts running touchdowns in. This guy's tier 1 for me. I understand he's a little bit older, but he's 26. Like you play in 3-year windows. That's still the prime for a wide receiver. He'll be under 30 in 3 years. He's up there with Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase for me. AJ Brown is of the similar talent.
I like it.
So I'm going to put him there. We got a tier 2 and a tier 1. Alfredo, where are you putting AJ Brown?
Yeah, I'll keep him there in tier 2. I think he is the other side of the spectrum of Amon-Ra St. Brown, whereas if you like Amon-Ra for the high floor, you like AJ Brown for the high ceiling, right? He's one of those few guys that's in tier 2 that has the potential to finish as the wide receiver 1 overall. He's got a fantastic quarterback, and he's the guy that's consistently producing for touchdowns, deep balls. He's got the physical skill, and he's just in a system that is actually fitting perfect for him. People talk about it being a running system. Not if Rashad Penny can't last the full season. Not if DeAndre Swift can't last the full season. This is an Eagles offense that could become very, very pass heavy, and we started to see that happen as the year went on last year. So I would not be surprised if this script for the Eagles becomes a bit more pass heavy going forward with AJ Brown and Davante Smith there.
And we see it. You asked Jalen Hurts to rise to that task, and he's able to do it. There were questions about whether or not he could support a heavier pass offense, and he did it. Dumb questions. He can do it. Yep. Joey, we've got 2 tier 2s and a tier 1. Where are you putting AJ Brown?
So to be a tier 1 wide receiver for me, you have to be one of the best wide receivers in the game, which I think AJ Brown is. And 2, I think you have to be the best wide receiver on your team. I don't know if he's the best wide receiver on the Eagles. I think he is, but it's not clear cut for me. If you look at Davante Smith, his numbers for the last 9 weeks with AJ Brown are really close to each other. So for me, he's in tier 2 just because I don't think he has that upside of tier 1. If that makes any sense.
I get that. And
doesn't make any sense.
I love your points. A and 2.
Did I do that?
Yeah.
Didn't even mean to do it. I am naturally stupid.
A and 2.
A. 2. Incredible.
I couldn't even write that. I couldn't write it better.
Well, AJ Brown's going to end up in tier 2, and Jay down here making sure everyone heard it. Hot take. Joey said Davante Smith is better than AJ Brown. Send tweet. Make sure we get that out there for everyone.
Here, I'll say this. Here's a hot take. I would rather draft Davante Smith where he's going than take AJ Brown where he's going.
There you go. There's
my hot take,
but more reasonable.
It's less hot. It's like a warm take.
Bob Harris said, Jail, the whole crew's coming to your house. Jake Trowbridge going there in Dreamland. Bob's having aliens drop him off at your house. And also Bob letting us know that Metallica is undeniable, intergalactically undeniable. Even the aliens cannot deny.
You got to read it in order. Jake goes, Bob Harris, what do aliens think of Metallica? Bob says, exactly what the rest of us think. Metallica is undeniable. There you have it. Aliens love Metallica.
Man, I'm not going to point fingers, but I do remember distinctly before the show, removing all context, one of the 4 of us screaming, and I quote, Metallica sucks! And it was not me. And we were not talking about Bob Harris. Bob one of us said those words. You'll never know who.
Question. How many of us on the show have been to a Metallica concert? I can raise my hand to that.
Does it count?
I can raise my hand, but I'm lying.
No, never.
Okay. So it wasn't me then.
I will not raise my hand.
Well, I've
like
seen
Fantasy
bands
Spot.
that I think suck. Well, Joey, you did not pick AJ Brown. JL picked AJ Brown, which means it's my turn to pick
Simon.
a player here. Who do I want to pick to talk about? This is the best part because no matter what I do, you guys have to talk about that player. I guess you could revolt and say otherwise. Let's stick in tier 2, and I'm going to go with the type of player that I love to draft in fantasy football because I feel like they get bumped down just a little bit value-wise because of their age. Tyreek Hill is still a tier 2 wide receiver. After what he did last season in that Dolphins offense, and then the good news surrounding Tua, all arrows pointing to the fact that he's going to be back, this offense should pick up where it left off, and Tyreek Hill should be the dominant wide receiver 1 that he was last season. I'm shocked every time I go and look at both his and Waddle's numbers last year. Joey, I believe you had a question in Jeopardy this week that revealed just how dominant Tyreek Hill was, even with Jalen Waddle on the field. I don't care that he's 28, 29. His talent and his fantasy output keeps him there with CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown.
I say that's the best age.
It's the best age. Yeah. One would argue that you're the most handsome at that age. Yeah. And your penis is the biggest and you're the kindest whenever you're 28, 29.
That's like a sharp left turn.
It does, guys.
It does take a sharp left turn. Did my girlfriend tell you?
Nope.
I'm just Alfredo, I put who are we talking about? Sorry, I got distracted.
Your penis, apparently.
Paris Campbell. I put Paris Campbell in tier 2. That's what I did. No, I put Tyreek Hill in tier 2. Oh.
We all thought it.
Alfredo, where are you putting Tyreek Hill? Is he in tier 2 for you, or is he higher or lower?
Boy, all right. That was fun. Tyreek Hill, yeah, I mean, I'll keep him in tier 2. Obviously, big believer in the talent. It's kind of hard not to be. He's at 3 straight years here of, at least, what is it? At least 130 targets, at least 1,200 yards, 3 straight times. And this offense obviously suits him really well. The only thing that does worry me, and since we are talking about dynasties, you mentioned the age. It's not just the age of like a player that's just dropping off. It's the way that Tyreek wins is with his athleticism. Yeah. Whereas a guy like DeAndre Hopkins or maybe even Davante Adams, like they're not running out there and burning past people, right? So as you guys probably know, the older you get, the more susceptible you are to injury. You get a little bit slower, a little bit weaker, unless you're really training through it. So that's the only thing that that's the only thing that worries me about Tyreek is, do the wheels fall off after this season? Maybe it's 2. I don't know, but I do think that he is still talented enough and producing enough to remain in tier 2, but it's cutting it close.
I got to say, with his speed, the wheels falling off seems like a pretty dangerous outcome.
Mm-hmm. Everyone just imagined a high-speed vehicle with the wheels falling off.
Exactly.
We were all just
I imagined real wheels just popping off.
That would be shocking if Tyreek Hill was running down the field and all of a sudden just like when an 18-wheeler's tires blow out, just all of a sudden you see like those giant pieces of rubber just like fly off the bottom of his shoes.
You can't find him.
Where's Tyreek? Joey, we've got 2 tier 2s. Where are you putting them?
Yeah, based on the player, like right now, if this is redraft, he'd be in tier 1 for me. I feel that strongly about him and his talent and what he can do there in Miami. But because of the age of 29, I have him in tier 2. And it's kind of towards the middle of tier 2. I'm happy to draft him. If I'm in a 3-year window, I'm happy to take him as the wide receiver 3 in this draft, this hypothetical draft that I have going in my head at all times. I would be happy taking him 3rd overall.
There we go.
Dynasty wide receiver.
We got 3 tier 2s. So JL, unless you really hate Tyreek Hill, it's probably not going to change where we put him. But where do you end up having Tyreek Hill in this tier list?
I am lower than you guys. I'm going to put him in tier 3.
Okay.
And, the age thing really does factor in for me. I do think that he's going to be great this year. I'm not really too concerned. But around the same draft cost, you can get a T. Higgins or a Davante Smith or one of these younger guys who are really, I don't think are going to have that big of a difference in outcome between Tyreek Hill and them this year, the short term, and you get the long-term value. So I can't really put Tyreek Hill in tier 2 because I put a lot of these other younger talented guys who are going to have a longer lifetime value ahead of them.
Makes sense. And I think Jail, what you and Alfredo both alluded to is a great point. The type of wide receiver that Tyreek Hill does rely on his athleticism a lot more than some of these other players that are maybe more relying on their route running ability. A player like Larry Fitzgerald transitioned into old age as he lost some of his athleticism very well, though he also completely changed the type of game that he played. So I'm not sure we'll see that from Tyreek Hill, but it adds another element of risk to an older wide receiver for sure. Alfredo, it's back to you. You've got pick. What pick you make?
You've got pick, Alfredo.
Oh man, so Tyreek Hill's now in tier 3?
Oh no, he's not. He's in tier 2. Unless
Okay.
Jail's vote counts for triple.
I like that mechanic.
All right, yeah, you had me worried there. Okay, so I'm going to nominate someone that I think for me is the last player in tier 2, and it's Stephon Diggs. And he's a guy, he's same age as Tyreek Hill, and the way he wins on the field is just in a different way. There's something that when it comes to guys that are good route runners, you don't need the elite speed to be a good route runner. And that's what he has. He has the elite route running. That's how he wins. And that's something that even as he gets a little bit older, like that doesn't really fall off all that much. That's why you see guys like DeAndre Hopkins and Davante Adams still producing. The difference is that Stephon Diggs has an elite quarterback in Josh Allen there. So unless they end up going and getting, a really good number 2 receiver, or they end up with DeAndre Hopkins, I don't really see that value changing for me. It's a guy who's just had, looking at like 5 straight 1,000-yard seasons, almost always getting at least 100 or more catches. Stephon Diggs, if he's not in tier 2, I get it, it's Dynasty, but we're all so impatient in Dynasty anyways. I'm happy to put him in tier 2.
Tier 2, man. This tier 2 clump, just looking at it, is so much fun so far. It's just like a balling set of receivers that are fun.
I
to watch.
love it.
Joey, are you agreeing with Alfredo here?
Yeah, I don't see much difference between Stephon Diggs and Tyreek Hill. He's definitely in my tier 2. Happy to start a draft with him towards the end of the first round at that little swing. If I got a swing pick in a dynasty draft, I think he's still got a lot of quality years left of work. So yeah, tier 2 for me.
Tier 2. I see we got A&M edits down here. What's up, A&M? And Dustin saying, I hate it when my 2s clump.
Oh, me too.
My 2s.
Drink more water.
My 2s could use a clumping agent right now. They are just very unclumped.
Drink less water.
Also, Craig in here, Joey, letting you know, Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs have entirely different names if you're having trouble telling them apart.
It's true.
Craig, for the 900th time on the show, I do not know how to read.
or speak. JL, where are you putting your best friend, Stephon Diggs?
Stephon Diggs. I love that you alluded to his route running, Alfredo, because you're absolutely right. That is his unfair advantage. He's just a technician, and he's so good at it. But it's the same reasoning as Tyreek Hill, like you guys said. I'm going to draft him around the same place, so I got to throw him in tier 3.
Tier 3 for JL. I love the people that try to use Josh Allen's rushing as a negative for Stephon Diggs, as if Josh Allen's passing doesn't make up for that tenfold, or the offense that they're in doesn't make up for that tenfold. I understand the argument that it could limit some touchdown upside, but when you're in one of the offenses that is most likely to score a touchdown at any given moment, it doesn't really matter if Josh Allen steals 7 of those. It's going to be all right.
Oversimplifying, because it's hard to measure how many touchdowns are created because defenses are worried Josh Allen's is going to run. Exactly. So I find it to be a silly argument, and it's one of the only reasonable arguments against Stephon Diggs. You have his age, which, again, totally valid, but I see him as someone who will probably still be highly competitive for the next 2 to 3 years. And the way he's playing right now, it's enough to keep him in tier 2. So we got 3 tier 2s and a tier 3, but Stephon Diggs is going to join Tyreek Hill there in tier 2. And Joey, you've got the next pick.
Yeah, I'm going to pick last year's wide receiver 12. We all talked about Tyreek Hill. We're worried about his age and whatnot on the team. So I'm going to take his teammate, Jalen Waddle, and slap him right there in tier 2. I'm actually taking Waddle above Tyreek Hill, and I don't think that's too spicy of a take. Super great player. And if Hill starts to kind of trail off at all this year, Waddle, you're just going to see him get more production. I absolutely love Jalen Waddle.
Tier 2 for Jalen Waddle. John Luke.
I feel bad that we took both Dolphins receivers with Alfredo on the show, though. Like, it just feels rude, but that's okay.
Stealing them from him. John Luke, where are you putting Jalen Waddle?
Jalen Waddle is tier 2 for me as well. He's a similar upside player to Tyreek Hill, maybe a slightly less upside, but man, 5 years Dynasty, that is not nothing. So yeah, tier 2.
Tier 2 for John Luke. I'm not too worried about Tyreek Hill's presence in that offense because it didn't really slow him down last year. If you're the wide receiver 12 in that offense, then you're still feeling fairly confident that Tua and the Dolphins can support 2 not only fantasy relevant wide receivers, but top level fantasy relevant wide receivers. And with the concerns around Tyreek's age, like we talked about previously, this is a player that is already a wide receiver 1 that has insane room to go up, has like overall wide receiver 1 upside if he becomes a true alpha in that offense at any point. So he's tier 2 for me, but he's one of the guys that, given the situation around him changing in the coming year or 2, could make that jump to tier 1, I think, pretty easily. Like this time next year, I'm not going to be shocked at all if Jalen Waddle's in the conversation with Chase and Jefferson. Alfredo, where are you putting Waddle? We got 3 tier 2 so far.
Yeah, I think he's got to be in tier 2. I think the only thing that stops him is maybe health going forward, but he hasn't really had a problem with that in the NFL so far. And you don't see a lot of guys come into the league, have back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, have back-to-back 100-plus target seasons, and then just the wheels fall off after 2 years of being really, really good. He's done it with 2 different offenses. He's done it with backup quarterbacks, starting quarterbacks, and he's done it in 2 different ways, right? In the first year, he was low yardage, high volume, and then the second year, he was super efficient, scoring touchdowns, breakaway plays. I think he's somewhere in between that, but yeah, Jalen Waddle's got to be tier 2.
Tier 2. That's a unanimous tier 2 for Jalen Waddle. He's going to end up there. Jalen, before you pick the next player that we'll be talking about, I want to remind everybody here that it is best ball season. And if you're looking to brush up on some of your strategy, you can head over to fantasyalarm.com and check out the fantasy football best ball draft strategy that they got posted on that website, and get those best ball drafts in, because before you know it, draft season is going to be over and you're going to miss it. And you're just going to be sitting there doing mocks by yourself that don't matter until the next season comes around. John Luke, it's your next pick. Who are we talking about here?
All right, it's my next pick. I got to bring up Garrett Wilson, wide receiver for the Jets. He is a player who I feel like I know what Simon's going to say. He's shot up in dynasty value towards the later half of last season. And I think part of that is us trying to maybe anticipate his value because he's talented and we saw a bit of that talent and we see all the signs that are pointing in the right direction for that team. And I'm with him. Like, that's evidence. That's solid evidence. Garrett Wilson, all the things are really panning out for him. And so there's absolutely risk that it doesn't pan out the way we think. And I think that's built into a tier 2 price here. So I'm going to throw Garrett Wilson in tier 2.
Tier 2 for JL for Garrett Wilson. I feel like a Debbie Downer on Garrett Wilson. And I don't know. I don't know if I just didn't see enough or if I'm not buying into this Jets offense fully or exactly what it is preventing me from drafting Garrett Wilson where he's going right now. I understand the age. I understand the talent. And I understand the flashes we saw last year. But I still feel like we saw flashes. Like, I don't feel like I saw it consistently get put together. At the end of the season, there were a couple good games, but never really put together a string of highly competitive games at the back half of the season. I want to buy in, but he's not as safe as the guys that we have in tier 2 right now. He's not on the same level of safety as an AJ Brown or a Tyreek Hill or a Stephon Diggs. So I'm going to put Garrett Wilson in tier 3. And I understand some people have him as high as Dynasty wide receiver 3 overall. I just need to see a little bit more, and I need to trust that this Jets offense is going to get going. Alfredo, where are you putting Garrett Wilson?
Yeah, I can't put him in tier 2. And I'm kind of with you, Simon. Like, I'm a little bit of the hater, and people think it's typical. Oh, you just don't like the Jets. No, I think that what happened is we got a little bit of that offensive rookie of the year perfume on him. And we kind of have to go back and take a look at everything that happened in that season. And a lot of it was like, oh, he was really bad because of Zach Wilson. And then he was really good with Mike White. So any other quarterback thing is going to go well. Well, but the Jets just still don't have an identity yet. And that's been further muddied up now with Aaron Rodgers coming in, who works at a very slow pace. They now have a new offensive coordinator. And when you go back and actually look at when Breece Hall was healthy and in the lineup last season, Garrett Wilson was averaging just 10 PPR points per game. Now, a lot of that has varying factors, right? Like Zach Wilson, the bad offense, blah, 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 blah. That put him at wide receiver 46 on a points per game basis at that time. So I'm not saying he's there. He's obviously very talented. He's going to be very high up in the rankings, but I'm just not quite ready to anoint him as like the next great elite receiver, despite winning offensive rookie of the year. it was almost kind of like a de facto thing at that point that everyone else had kind of slowed down and he happened to get hot at the right time. So I got to keep him in tier 3.
I think if Dameon Pierce doesn't get injured, he takes the award. What do you think?
Whoa.
Down the stretch there? I was just trying to incite a little excitement from Joey. See if
the camera's only this high.
Joey, we've got a tier 2 and 2 tier 3s. Where are you putting Garrett Wilson?
Garrett Wilson's my last player probably in tier 2. If you look at Garrett Wilson's season last year, he only had 2 games where he scored a touchdown. No, both those games he scored 2 touchdowns in each. I think that number is going to come up by quite a bit this year. I think we'll see him with 8 to 10 touchdowns just because Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback. Now that's just this year. Going forth past that, hopefully Rodgers is there for 2 seasons. You know, you could do one and gone. I don't know if that's the one and done. That's how it goes. But whoever comes in next for quarterback, we've seen him produce with, mediocre quarterbacks. I'm pretty high on Garrett Wilson, final player in tier 2. I'd be happy to draft him on my team.
We have 2 2s, 2 3s. That puts it at 2.5. And Alfredo is the guest. You're the tiebreaker, so it's going to end up down in 3. We got Craig down here adding.
Sorry, everybody.
My worry is that Aaron is not what he used to be, and they don't have long-term QB figured out there. Also, Aaron is a nut.
He's actually an NFL football player.
He's a pecan.
He's a macadamia.
Certified.
Almond.
How many cashew?
Pistachio.
Brazil.
3 cashew.
Pecan. Macadamian.
The classic.
Peanut.
Nut.
What?
There we go, Alfredo.
Nice.
We got there together. Sully also down here saying a motivated Aaron Rodgers is a player I want to roster. I see no reason, barring injury, how Garrett Wilson doesn't get even better. And I see that. I look at this, and there is a part of me that has the FOMO, has the fear of missing out on Garrett Wilson on my rosters, right? But this is also a feeling I felt before. I felt it with Kyle Pitts his rookie season. And the last drafts before the year started, I drafted more Kyle Pitts. Sometimes you recognize talent, but you're not comfortable with the situation, and you have to decide if you're willing to eat that risk. Garrett Wilson's draft price is a little bit too high for me to eat that risk right now. But if he hits, I'm missing out. I don't get to play.
Yeah, I think the difference for me between Garrett Wilson and someone like Kyle Pitts is the situation around him, where I see you could plug Aaron Rodgers, really most quarterbacks into the system, and because it was built in a way that is built well, it's going to be supportive to him. And I think throwing Aaron Rodgers is probably overkill for what they need here. But
well, it's my turn to pick a player, and I know each person here has said the words, this is probably my last player in tier 2. So now it's my turn to say, this is probably my last player in tier 2. It is another 1B to a 1A, but this time it's for the Cincinnati Bengals. I want to talk about T. Higgins. And T. Higgins is solidly in tier 2 for me. He's only 24 years old. He's gone out there and had stretches of games where he is the better fantasy option on that team. And I do think he's more consistent of a fantasy option than Jamar Chase. He's just as likely to finish in that top 12 wide receiver territory. And again, he's only 24 years old, and he's with a young quarterback, Joe Burrow, that has expressed interest in keeping that core together, right? So if we can keep Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow together for the next 3 to 4 years, I don't see how he isn't at least on par with an Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I'm going to put him there. Tier 2. Alfredo, where are you putting T. Higgins?
Yeah, if I'm not putting Garrett Wilson in tier 2, I'm not putting T. Higgins there either. Something that I believe it was Joey that mentioned, like, we don't even know that. We do know T. Higgins is not the best receiver on his team. I can't be putting him up there with a bunch of alpha guys like Diggs and Tyreek and CeeDee Lamb. So for me,
Christian Kirk.
T. Higgins, sure, yeah, whatever. For me, T. Higgins is going to stay there in tier 3. We saw everything kind of go down for him this last season. Whether it was target share and efficiency metrics, and man, it could definitely go back up, but I don't think that necessarily puts him into the top 6 or 7 wide receivers in the league fantasy wise. So I got to keep him in 3.
3 from Alfredo. Joey, we got a 2 and a 3. Where do you put Mr. T?
I had trouble when I was listening to you and Alfredo talk, Simon, because T. Higgins is my top player in tier 3, and I'm just like, am I too low on him? I'm just gonna go with I have on here. I love T. Higgins. Absolutely love him. I just think he might lack that upside of everyone that I see on my little computer screen. It's actually not little. I got a 13-inch. So that's a pretty good size.
That's above average.
That's
I think so.
I've
Well,
ever seen.
Some websites would disagree. But yeah, where I have those guys, I would rather have any of those guys over T. Higgins at this point. He's tier 3 for me. And I'm really, really comfortable with him as my top player in tier 3.
Also, Joey, make sure you don't need to flip the ruler over to the imperial side instead of the metric side. You just want to make sure it's not the centimeters that you're looking at.
Wow.
Really little computer screen.
13.
Well, T. Higgins is going to end up probably in tier 3, but JL still has a vote. JL, what are you doing with Mr. T?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. He's perfectly on this tier 2, tier 3 line. I don't only evaluate these players based off of where I think they might finish in an individual year. I'm really looking at it, especially in Dynasty, in that like area underneath their graph over time, like their value over time. So someone like T. Higgins, where I see him being a high-end wide receiver 2 in a great offense for many years to come, that is valuable. Even if his upside outcomes are not quite as broad as the Jamar Chases, the Amon-Ra St. Brown. So T. Higgins, I'm going to put him in tier 3, but he is an excellent dynasty player in my mind in terms of value, in terms of an asset.
It's hard, isn't it? Like, because like you want to put him in tier 2, it's just something's like holding you back. Like that's how I feel.
It's Jamar Chase is holding them back. You know, Jamar Chase on that. Yeah, he's absolutely holding him back. Jamar Chase is not there. Maybe T. Higgins has the capability to get to a tier 2.
We can talk later, guys. I'll show you how I did it. If you really want to put him in tier 2, it wasn't that hard, but we can break it down. You just go T. Higgins tier 2, and then that's all you have to do. But I'll explain.
A lot of it's harder.
We don't have to do it here on the show. T. Higgins is going to end up in tier 3 with Garrett Wilson. I know I had him in tier 2. I'm not mad about it, though. It makes sense in relation to the other players up there. Alfredo, it's back to you. This might be the last run through of players. Which player would you like to talk about here?
Oh, man, if this is going to be the last one.
Choose wisely.
Oh,
last
man.
4.
Okay.
What we got going on.
All right. Well, then I'm going to... Man, all right, I'll go with Chris Olave here. And I know that doesn't spread us out too much here on the board, but I'm going to say Chris Olave is in tier 3. I actually have him ahead of Garrett Wilson, just one spot ahead of Wilson. And I get it. That might be a little spicy, but everything's pointing up for Chris Olave, who actually had a very good season last year. He was 15th in target share in the NFL, 3rd in air yard share. And now he's getting a quarterback that really loves to throw the ball deep, and that worked so well last year with Derek Carr and Davante Adams. Now you put Chris Olave into a similar role, and really the Saints don't have a whole lot else on offense. We haven't seen Michael Thomas really play for years. We don't know what's going to be happening with Alvin Kamara. And maybe Jawan Johnson is like the other guy on this team that can catch some passes, but we're looking at a team that is really very similar to CeeDee Lamb, looking like it's getting built around a guy like Chris Olave, who, he was more impressive than Wilson in a whole bunch of metrics like catch rate and reception yards per game, fantasy points per game, targets per route run, all of these different things. Olave he was really damn good as a rookie. And I think he didn't get all the accolades that came with it. And, averaging 15.5 points in the first 7 weeks of the season, everything started out really well. So we've seen how good he could be when he's just starting out. And I think this is a guy that you could, with a good offense, with a good quarterback, you can see him start to get into that 17, 18, 19 points per game range. So yeah, I think the ceiling's much higher for Olave.
Don't sleep on Rashid Shaheed taking some of those targets, Alfredo. He's just sitting there waiting. Joey, that's a tier 3 for Chris Olave. Where are you putting Mr. Olave?
I'm going to put him in tier 3 as well. He is a player that I need Michael Thomas to leave. I need him to be gone from New Orleans, and then I'll confidently move him actually into tier 2. I think he has that talent. I just think when Michael Thomas is on the field, he is commanding work. And if you look at when Michael Thomas actually played last year, he actually looked really, really good. And Scott Fishbowl scoring, which I was doing where you get a little bit extra for some first downs and for receptions. Michael Thomas was a top 12 wide receiver. And that's kind of hard to ignore when you got somebody like Olave, and Olave was down pretty far. Now, long-term, he's young. I think he's going to work out just great. So he's in tier 3 for me.
Tier 3. John Luke, are you agreeing with these two, putting Olave in tier 3?
I have to, because I can't really put him above.
They threatened me. They physically threatened me and my fiance.
You guys should see the private chat right now. It's graphic.
It's very hostile. Yeah, I got to put him in tier 3 because I would put Garrett Wilson and T. Higgins and Chris Olave. It's impossible to rank those guys for me. But yeah, that tier 3 is where he belongs for sure.
Tier 3. And I'm with you guys. And Joey, you hit the point that I was going to hit. If there was no Michael Thomas, Chris Olave would probably be tier 2 for me. I do just have some fear around what Michael Thomas means in that offense. I still buy into the talent to some degree, based on the small sample size we've seen from him over the past couple of years. But that's going to be all tier 3 for Chris Olave, putting him down there with T. Higgins and Garrett Wilson. Joey, you've got the next pick.
Yeah, I'm going to go down a little bit. And I'm going to go into tier 4. I'm going to pull someone to kind of maybe define some tier lines here. So more than just 3 of them. And I'm going to take DJ Moore and put him in tier 4 for me. He's someone that I think has a lot of upside. I'm just afraid of the volume he's going to get in Chicago. If this is his last ride, I do like Justin Fields a lot, but Chicago just did not throw the ball last year. So if I'm thinking in a 3-year window, DJ Moore is definitely going to probably be there for the next 3 to 5 years. He's still young, but I don't know what his upside is. I'm having him tier 4, top of tier 4 for me. Yeah.
Just over 26 years old.
Mm-hmm. So still young. Yeah.
Tier 4 for DJ Moore from Joey. 14
Oh,
years
and Scott Fish, I did call him earlier in the show. I forgot to mention. He said Simon's an asshole.
Oh, am I?
No, that's just what I wanted to say. In this
moment. I was going to say I probably am, but I don't know what I did this time.
Yeah, I just didn't want to interrupt anyone like you usually do. So,
John Luke.
Simon.
I was going to wait till you started talking to then cut you off and ask you where you would put the player that we're talking about.
Which is?
I forgot.
DJ Moore.
DJ Moore.
That's the only way that he would have said that name.
How could I ever remember who it is?
DJ Moore. Yeah, 26 years old. DJ Moore. I think tier 4 is a great spot for him. I'm tempted to even throw him in tier 5 because of that situation on that offense. It's very speculative at this point. I don't disagree with everyone that Justin Fields is an incredibly talented athlete, incredibly talented player. I just don't know if they're going to be able to put it all together into a solid, coherent strategy. So DJ Moore, I think he's one of the best wide receivers in the league. I can't put him any higher than tier 4.
We've got 2 tier 4s. And yet again, I'm going to show you guys how to do it. Tier 3. I'm putting DJ Moore in tier 3. It's that easy. And the reason I'm doing it is a formula that we've seen work multiple times. You have Tua Tagovailoa. You go out, you get Tyreek Hill. He levels up. You have your young quarterback. You go out, second year, you get them an elite receiving option. I think that's what they're doing with Justin Fields. All of the moves they've made this offseason has led me to believe that they want to throw the ball more. And they went out and got him a true alpha. DJ Moore is a wide receiver 1 for an NFL team. He's not a guy that can't succeed in that role. It's all he's done with the best with bad quarterbacks in those Panthers offenses. So I'm buying into Justin Fields. I'm buying into this Bears offense, and I'm buying into DJ Moore and Justin Fields being that duo at the core of that Bears offense this season. So he's tier 3 for me with those other guys, with Garrett Wilson, T. Higgins, and Olave. Me?
Yeah,
I don't. I'm broke. I'm so poor. But luckily, DJ Moore's value is suppressed, so you don't need a lot of money to go out there and get him. Rashad pennies for DJ Moore. You might need a little bit more than some Rashad pennies for DJ Moore. We've got DJ Moore, 2 4s and a 3. Where are you putting them?
Yeah, I'll put him in 4. I think the drumbeat for Justin Fields just continues to get louder this offseason, and it does seem like the Bears do want to pass the ball a bit more. They kind of know they need to do that to be competitive. And I don't think you go out and you make a move to end up with this guy, make him part of that big blockbuster deal if you don't intend to use him. So yeah, getting DJ Moore is all about developing Justin Fields. And if that's what you're trying to do as an organization, you don't just say, all right, let's keep running the ball 67 times a game. No, they're going to pass the ball to him. I think it's just going to be a matter of getting that volume like JL mentioned.
Yeah. JL, do you, I know you've been highly complimentary of teams like the Jets and the Eagles and the offseason moves they've been making. I've seen talk about the Bears offseason moves this year, but not as much praise. Do you view them similarly, or are they a tier below those teams when it comes to the way they're setting themselves up?
They just haven't been doing it as long. Like, they haven't been doing it well for as long. I love the moves they've made this past offseason, and I hope that they continue that. They've set themselves up to be in a great position going into the season. I hope they continue.
Gotcha. It takes a couple years of making moves like that before you start seeing the results pay off. Well, guys, that's going to be it for today, but we will likely continue these Dynasty wide receiver tiers at another time. DJ Moore is the player that we're going to end off on, ending up down there in tier 4. Alfredo, I want to thank you for taking the time to come on and stream with us and help us with these Dynasty wide receiver tiers.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. Like I said, you were my first this week after coming back to the good old US of A. So thanks.
I love it when you say that to me.
How was it?
Yeah, it was okay.
Okay. Any tips?
For.
We are receptive and open to feedback. So just send it over. We want nothing but your pleasure, Alfredo.
I'll put it in the private chat. That's salty language, not meant for everyone else.
And then we will sell that as premium content. So
I
if you want to see Alfredo saucy messages to us, reach out. That'll be $5 per letter. Joey like that.
Sorry.
Well, guys, on that note,
thinking about the tip.
Yeah, we got some things to go think about and some things to and about. So we're gonna head out of here. That's going to be it for us today, but we will be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern time for some more fantasy football game show fun. Until then, go and follow our guest Alfredo at the Pretend GM. Check out what he's been creating over at Football Guys. And then start prepping for tomorrow's game of Pole Perception. Study, because it's going to be a doozy. We'll see you guys at 3 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Adios, everyone.
Okay, go to the
So
library.
I thought Alfredo ended with a OUGH dough because it's like a type of
Alfredo's?
pasta, but I guess I was wrong. I don't know.
That's